It's a horrible December day, but I'm going to do a little bit of talking about the 996. Had it now since the end of October, but to be honest, I've not really been driving it about much because I've been a bit paranoid about the IMS, and basically waiting until I get it sorted. So that's going in a week's time to have that done. So I've not been driving it a huge amount, but I just thought I'd give a quick video about the spec and a little bit about the car. Excuse any noise of the wind and rain. It's not a very nice day out here, but I thought it was time to give a brief update on the 911, the 996.2 that I bought. I picked this up a couple of months ago on collectingcars.com. Won the auction at £15,750 plus a £950 fee to Collecting Cars. No dramas with picking up, everything's good, and the car's been it's been great so far. I've not driven it massively and I've not driven it hard yet because I'm a little bit paranoid. With 130 odd thousand miles on it, even though part of me tells me that the IMS isn't going to go, if it's been this okay so far, that it's probably going to be okay. I can't afford a £10,000 engine rebuild, but I can afford the £2,000 bill on getting it, the IMS replaced. So it's going in next week. It's going up to Hitchin, going to Friends Green Porsche. For the IMS package, it's because it's a 996.2 and it's an auto, it's a Tiptronic. It's a bit more expensive than the manual or the 996.1. So basically, it's going to be £1,799 plus VAT, so it's 20% to get that done. But whilst it's in there, going to get a couple of other things. I've been up under the car and I've had a look. Looks like the coil packs are original, or the old style, which means they haven't been changed in at least 8 years. So it's barely going to be any cost of labour because the engine's got to come out. Engine and gearbox have to come out for the IMS on the Tiptronic. So it just makes sense to get them done at the same time. So yeah, going to get that done, and so I thought this was the last chance to do a little video on the car before it goes in. So first thing, private plate. I'm not really a private plate sort of bloke, so considering selling that, although it's kind of cool, it looks like it says 4, but I don't know if it draws too much attention. It's not something I'm really worried about, but yeah, first car I ever had with a private plate, might be the last car I've ever had with a private plate. So, a few things about the car. It's this is a 2003, and it's a C4S. So the C4S means it's all-wheel drive, so it's as much as 95% of the power to the rear, and if you start losing grip at the front, it will send up to 40% of the power to the front to keep you from falling off the road. So I appreciate that might lose a little bit of the fun factor, but this is my first rear engine car. The reality is I'd rather not fall off the road, so quite happy with that at the minute. I would have preferred to get a manual, but budget did not allow, so happy with the Tiptronic at the moment. But there are probably a few mods I'm going to make, which is including fitting my own paddle shifter, rather than just using the buttons on the steering wheel. I find that very weird and unnatural to change gear, should I want to do it myself. Anyway, C4S, that means it's, as I said, all-wheel drive. It means it's got the turbo body shell, so it's the wider rear arches, except you don't have the rear intake above the rear wheel. Also means you've got this turbo-style front bumper. So I do prefer this to the normal front bumper. Things I do need to sort out: the front headlights are a little bit crazed, but they can be taken out polished, so that's not an issue. Replacing them, they're probably about £1,500 each. So as I've polished up my wife's headlights before, it's not an issue doing it. Just pop them out. It's very, very simple to take them out, and then basically get the polish machine on that, and that'll be fine. Other things I'm not too keen on: the windscreen wipers are rubbish, so I do need to sort that out. Other things I need to look at: the air conditioning is not working properly, so the air conditioning condensers in here often fill with leaves. Can't see that at the minute, however, I've got the wind blowing now. I can't see that at the minute, but I do need to get that looked at. So air conditioning condensers, at some point I'll have that front bumper off to check, but it could just be a leak, could be an O-ring under the car that's gone. turbo brakes on. These are massive 13-inch rotors on there, disc brakes. So these have only been fitted about 1,000 miles ago, so they're in good shape. Both front and back, they've got these massive and brand new, basically, both pads and discs. Best view of this car is this rear 3/4. It looks absolutely fabulous from that angle. And again, the C4S having a wide back, it's got those gills at the back which do make it look really good. Really good looking car. That rear spoiler, that's activated at about, I think it's either 70 or 75 miles an hour, but there is a little button inside the car if I want to do it manually. But I do like the look of a non-spoilered car. I think it just looks really clean. So my preference is to have a non-spoilered car. Other people disagree. A lot of people don't like the rear wiper. I think it looks detracts from the lines of the car. Me personally, I like to be able to see out the back of the car, so I think that's a good idea, having a rear wiper. Again, some people, they're not particularly keen on having a sunroof. They think it adds weight and loosens rigidity of the shell. Me personally, I like to be able to have the car open. I haven't got a convertible car, but on occasion it's quite nice to get the wind in my hair. Other things I need to have a think about. The exhaust pipes don't look quite even at the minute. The one on the right hand side looks slightly dropped, and that's making me think that the engine mount might need replacing. So again, that's a job that you can do yourself. Get the car up on axle stands, put the jack underneath the engine. You can then loosen off the engine mounts, swap those out. So that's a job I'll be doing at some point. I've made a mistake as well recently. Well, after I bought the car, I wanted to get a damn good clean. Got the pressure washer out, cleaned all up under the arches, and again, it's in pretty damn good shape. It looks like it's been genuinely really well looked after. But after getting under the car and giving those a good wash, I seem to have sprayed something up onto the rear belt, the auxiliary belt. So that's making a horrible squealing noise at the moment. So that's something I'm going to have to get the auxiliary belt slackened off, taken off, and give all the pulleys a clean. Other things, when the car, when I first got the car, I noticed that the rear spoiler, when you press the activation button on the inside and that spoiler pops up, it's making a horrible squealing noise again. But that was quite an easy remedy. That was basically squirting some silicone spray into the rams, and that's now stopped making that horrible noise. Other little things, these wheels, the tyres are pretty old, so I am going to change them at some point. The rear ones look in excellent condition. Whilst there's lots of tread on the fronts, there does seem to be a little bit of cracking and crazing on these fronts, so I'm tempted to get the fronts done first and see how we go. But they're 18-inch rims, and I think they're 11 inches wide at the back. It's a slight stretch on that tyre, so normally it should be a 285, but this one seems to be a 285 tyre, which seems a bit unusual. But yeah, otherwise pretty damn good shape. The other thing in the UK, you can't have tinted windows up front, and I see a lot of cars where they have tints at the back and not at the front, and it just looks weird. So I'm quite happy that this is a non-tinted window car. So yeah, normally I don't mind a tinted window, but it just looks a bit daft with the UK rules. So, but otherwise, yeah, it's in pretty damn good shape. So far, cars, yeah, as I said, 130,000 miles. And what other things to look at when you're getting a higher mileage car? If you get in up under here, not going to be able to see it because I haven't got a light with me. You've got your front suspension. In that front suspension at the top, I'll see if I can overlay a picture of when I got the wheel off to have a look. When you get inside that front arch, if you look up at the top of the suspension, you're going to have bump stops. A lot of the time they're perished and need replacing, but whilst you're getting those replaced, you may as well get your top mounts done and get the bearings done. Luckily, it looks like that was all been done before I bought the car. It did say it. I have looked through the paperwork, and that was one of the reasons I wasn't so worried about buying a high mileage car, because it did look like it's had a lot done. So All the front suspension seems to have been serviced recently. Spark plugs were done 1,000 miles ago, which seems odd that they didn't change the coil packs, so a bit odd that. Some of the the fork arms and the coffin arms have also been replaced, so a lot of work has been done on the suspension, so pretty happy with that. With regards to the interior, I guess we'll move in, because I can't think there's anything else to have a look at on the outside. Yeah, let's go over and have a look at the interior. Excuse the mess. So when I bought the car, I did know that was broken, so the electric seat can't move forwards or backwards at the front, so that is not ideal. So other little things, this car had some sort of upgrade to some sort of aluminium trim thing, so you've got this little silver trim strip which does make it look nicer, and then you've got this tech equipment handbrake and gear knob which have got this aluminium finish to them, and then there's an aluminium surround on the actual dials, and the center console, there's some silver on the air vent there. What I'll do, I'll pop round and actually get in the front. Before I do that, let me see if I can rejig this without dropping the camera. Lots of leather in the car. Leather dash, leather lots, leather everywhere. Things that weren't leather, which seems a bit stupid, those little rear seat pads, they're pretend leather, which is a bit rubbish. And then up there you've got the parcel shelf, and it's not as deep as the normal ones, and that's because it's got the Bose surround, or the Bose music system, which means that you've got a subwoofer in the back. Other things I noticed, the backs of the seats aren't leather, and there's quite a few scuffs. Not sure if I can get those out. It is absolutely freezing in here. As I said, December time now, so very cold. So as I said, we've got a bit of silver trim here, a little bit of silver trim around the dials, which is quite nice. Now this car, it has come with the satellite navigation, but because it's an 18-year-old car, it's terrible. Nice that it's got it. It's all CD based, so you need to look up your location, put in the CD, and it's just an absolute pain. So at the moment I've just been using my phone. Porsche do, because this is now classed as a classic, they do offer an upgrade which is called the Pccm Plus. It's about 1,500 quid, and whilst it does bring the technology bang up to date, that's a lot of money, you know, getting on for 10% of the value of the car. So it's a lot of money to spend on it, when the reality is, do I go for a third party thing, or just you know, keep it as it is and just use my phone for navigation as I need? Do quite like these. Got your little CD holder, so I am using that. Other thing that was broken on the car when I got it is there's a multi-changer in the front. The cartridge keeps popping out, so that's a pain. So I might see if I can get something on eBay, get a replacement. Right, I don't know why I didn't flip this camera around earlier. Anyway, the spare tyre, it comes as a very compact flat spare tyre, so if you have a puncture you need to inflate that. The car doesn't have a pump with it, so I've had to go and get myself a compressor that you can power through the cigarette lighter. So I had to sort that out. They're inexpensive, but it's just not something I thought I'd need to go and get. I do need to sort out the seats. As I said, that passenger seat has got the knackered electrics, and it doesn't seem to be, you can't just buy that little knob and then it's like 400 quid to get a replacement part, where the reality is I could get replacement seats for about £400. So, but that's got me thinking, I do quite like the sports back seats. These are the sort of tombstone style, and they're relatively supportive. I'm about 11 stone, and I fit in here quite nicely. But I do prefer the sort of the wingback sport back seats, so hardback seats. So I'm looking out for a pair of used ones of those on eBay, and we'll at some point swap it out. Other things that aren't great is this central, what do you call it? The center console. I'll show you close-ups in a minute. Nearly everything in this car is covered in leather steering wheel, leather dashboard, leather door cards. Pretty bloody good, really. Very happy with that, except this central console thing. So extended leather everywhere except that, and it's this weird sort of plastic which has had a top layer scratched off, so it just looks crap. So I'm tempted to take that out again. Seems like a reasonably sensible job that you can do yourself. So I'll take that out and I'll either recover it in leather myself. You can rub them down, get them sprayed the body colour, but I think that'd look a bit bling. I don't really want the silver centre console. But then I could get some Alcantara, because this has got an Alcantara headliner, and I think if I can get the same colour Alcantara on that, that would look quite nice. So that's something I'm thinking about. What else isn't great? To be honest, most of it's pretty good. It's first Porsche I've ever had, first real proper performance car I've ever had, and it goes like stink. So even though it's a Tiptronic and auto, it's got some serious power and some serious performance. But I don't think I'm going to really be ever trying to upgrade the performance or anything. If anything, I just want to make this look as neat and original as possible. So any upgrades that I do, I want them to look OEM if I possibly can. But it's a nice comfortable car. I've had the wife and kids in here. We can all fit. I'm sure the kids wouldn't like to do a long journey, but you know, half an hour or so, they're absolutely fine in here. So yeah, genuinely can use it as a family car. But obviously it hasn't got the load capacity for sort of everyday stuff that I need, so I've got the estate for that. But yeah, pretty good. I'll just show you a few other bits of the interior, and we'll go from there. Right, I'm actually in the back of the car now because I thought it'd be a bit easier to see what's what. So that's the central console that I was talking about, where the plastic scratches off, and that's not very nice. Things I didn't notice when I bought the car. Back of these seats, I don't think it's leather, I think it's faux leather. The fronts are leather, I think the backs are faux leather, like the back seats, but someone's dug their bloody nails into it and ruined it. So yeah, at some point I'll swap out these seats. So yeah, a lot of leather in the car. There is, so the back of the seats, as I said, looks like it's faux leather, as are these little back seat pads. These feel like faux leather. Practicality wise, you can flip these rear seats down. Now that would be level-ish, but it's got this bloody great big subwoofer in the back here, which is good, so the sound is good. The sound in the car is good, considering it's an 18-year-old car. You've got these, again, leather door cards, great big door bins, and then the thing about 911s is you have these lower portion of the door cards are well carpeted basically, which is a bit weird, but that's fine. And I don't know if the non-Bose cars have a speaker there or not, but it's a relatively decent sounding car. Even little weird things, let me see if I can show you. So the where the key goes in, that little sort of oval surround, that's leather covered as well, so there's a lot of leather in here. Steering wheel, I wasn't sure about it when I first got the car, but actually I do quite like it. I've got a Momo steering wheel. It was a limited edition Magnus Walker steering wheel that I bought with the intention at some point getting an air-cooled 911. That ship has sailed. There is no way I can ever afford getting an air-cooled now. But I had contemplated swapping it into this. Whilst that's a lovely steering wheel, I actually quite like the feel of this. It's got at the 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock section, it's a slightly contoured here and here, and it just feels really nice to drive. Things I don't like, the Tiptronic buttons. You press up to go up a gear, down to go down a gear. It just feels completely unnatural. You can just leave it in normal auto. If I want to, I can flick across from drive to, can you see it there? Drive to manual. But at any point, if I'm in drive, I can just flick up or down a gear should I want to and just take control. It seems to be quite a sophisticated system, so I'm quite happy with that. But it feels very unnatural using your thumbs to change gear. So as I understand, the gearbox is actually a Mercedes gearbox, and that means you can actually swap out, well, not swap out, you can get factory Mercedes-Benz paddle shifters and retrofit them to the Porsche steering wheel. So I can pick those up for 80 to 100 quid, get a Dremel out, cut into the sides at the back of the steering wheel, and I can put in actual proper flappy paddle gear shifters so that it will feel a bit more natural. It's never going to be fast like the PDK more modern type auto gearboxes, but being more natural, it will just feel nicer to drive. Car red lines, I think it's 7,000 RPM. It's the first car I've ever had as well that has a proper, not only has it got your temperature gauge on there, but you've also got an oil pressure gauge, which is quite nice. Other things which are a bit weird, I don't know why Porsche have done this, but rather than having the fuel tank showing as, you know, sort of full and half and whatever else, it's 4/4, 2/4 or empty. Why wouldn't you have half and full? It just seems ridiculous. What else have we got on that side? So you've got your speed, so in your middle you've got your big rev counter, which is great, your speed, and then you've got your battery voltage on the left as well. But otherwise, the interior, I've got to be honest, I was originally very much put off when I was looking at 911s. I was looking at the 997 because it had a much more modern interior. But the reality is, I've really grown to like this. I'm still not convinced about that centre console, the upper centre console. I think that looks quite dated. But I really like the analog dials, and it's weird as well, because originally, as I understand, this interior was originally designed for the 993, but Porsche had run out of money, so just kept the old 964 interior and dash. So again, when they were a bit strapped for cash when they were bringing out the 996, they just thought, well, we've got this dash, well, let's use that. So it's got an older feel to it, which is that is a little more dated. That I quite like, but it means that I feel like I'm driving a classic car about, which is really nice, but it's got all the modern poke that I need, so it's a nice combination. So yeah, so not bad. So I think that's it for my brief update on what we've got here. Next week the car is going into Friends Green Porsche. Actually, you know what, I'm going to flip back to the front screen again. I'm still in the back of the car, so I'm all crunched up. This is no way a grown-ass man can sit in here. So wait a minute, if I'm sitting in here, bum in the seats, I can't get it back around my knees. This is not a car for 4 adults, but you can squeeze 2 kids in the back. Anyway, so next week, car's going into Friends Green Porsche. Check out their YouTube channel. They really know their stuff, and I've learnt a lot about the car, the 996, especially from their channel. God, this is really uncomfortable in the back. I'm 5'10". Right, if I'm sitting up, right, it ain't great. Anyway, so the car's going in with them, getting the, as I said, IMS bearing, rear main, I can't even say it, IMS bearing, rear main seal, and all the other sundries whilst that's being done. Because the gearbox and engine have got to be dropped out, they're going to take a look and just double check to see if the coil packs have been changed or not. If they are over 8 years old, getting those swapped out. I'm not bothered about the engine mounts, because that's something I can replace myself. I'm relatively handy, so it shouldn't be too much of a drama. Other things they're going to have a look at whilst the engine is out is there's a brake pipe that goes up and over the engine and gearbox. I think over the gearbox. So that's going to they'll have a look at that. If there's any corrosion, just get it done while the engine's out. It's not worth mucking about. If it's in good shape, leave it as it is. And also get them to have a look at the air oil separator, because again, that if you're changing that while the engine's out, it's a hell of a lot easier. So they're the main bits being looked at. The front diff oil has been serviced and has been replaced about 1,000 miles ago, but the rear diff hasn't, so may as well get the rear diff and the gearbox oil or transmission fluid changed as well. So I just want, the reality is I'm probably going to be spending about £3 all in, but should be alright. Should be no dramas with the car after that, touch wood. It's a bit like Trigger's broom. So much of the car's been replaced relatively recently that
it really shouldn't have too many dramas. I guess the only thing is people do talk about bore scoring. I didn't notice any sooty deposits on either bank of the exhaust, so not overly worried about that. And it's also had a low thermostat, a low temperature thermostat fitted as well, again, which should minimise any chances of issues like bore score. So and I'm not going to be ragging the car about. I'm going to take it out for the odd spirited drive, but I don't anticipate getting the engine hot and keeping it hot constantly. This is a weekend car, it's a fun car. I'm not going to be tracking it. So yeah, good shape. So next update is basically going to be either taking it to or after taking it back from Friends Green Porsche, and seeing how we get on there. But it's going to be about a £3,000 bill. So luckily, the majority of all of this is being covered by all the eBay sales that I'm doing. So if you don't know, go and check out my other channel. That's what I do as a side gig. Got a day job, pays reasonably well, but wouldn't give me the money to go and buy a silly car like this. What it does mean is that by having a side gig, that takes all the pressure off financially, which means that I'm doing something that I quite enjoy on the side, which helps pay towards bills, upgrades our life a bit, and it means that I can go out and be a little bit frivolous without jeopardising savings for, you know, my pension and other bits and pieces, or going on a nice holiday. So yeah, the side gig helps. So if you haven't seen my other channel, Cola Flipper, go and check it out, learn a little bit more about me there and what I do. But otherwise, yeah, so far very happy with the car. Hoping to take it out a little bit more once I've got rid of the paranoia of worrying about the IMS bearing. I'm probably worrying over nothing. It's probably costing me a load of money that I don't need to spend, but I'm just not enjoying driving the car because in the back of my mind at the minute, I'm scared that something is going to pop and I'm going to have a £10,000 engine bill. So yeah, so that's it for me for the minute. So thank you very much for watching. Hopefully that's given you a good idea about the car. It's bloody lovely. I just want to get out there and drive it more, and at the minute I'm just a bit scared. So yeah, I shall catch up with you shortly, and thank you for watching. If you wouldn't mind giving it a thumbs up and subscribing if you find this sort of stuff interesting, that I'd be really grateful for that. So thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.